Hello everybody, we are live. Welcome to Masks Monday, which I'm slightly breaking it, but this is the first session of Masks of Nyarlathotep. We're gonna do some bookkeeping to start with, and then go into the prologue, which is new for the new edition of Nyarlathotep, where they kind of brought it up to speed with the rest of Cthulhu. So for those who have played Nyarlathotep in the past, well, you might see something new for a bit. Okay, so as you all know, this is a friggin' huge game. It's going to be long, it's very big, lots of parts, etc. And just to... Obviously, I know most of you, well, probably all of you, are very committed, but obviously with our new person, Giorgio, just to let you know as well, if you need to take, like, a session off, obviously just let us know, and yeah. Please take notes. Please
Right.
take notes.
Notes.
You will forget
notes,
stuff. You will miss
course.
things.
Not because this is a huge campaign, rather because I'm dumb, so I should write things down. All right.
There are many handouts and clues, as well as all the moving pieces of the story, NPCs, etc. So, whilst the overall premise of the story is actually quite simple, there are so many moving parts, so seriously take notes. What I'd like to do, kind of nicking from the Cthulhu game that me and Becky was in, I would like you guys to rotate on who summarises for the next session, which worked quite well. So, again, take notes, and I'll... I mean, I don't mind who does it next week, whether anyone wants to volunteer, or shall I just choose?
I don't know what happened.
I guess obviously.
Hi, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Steve.
Shall-
You could always tempt us with sanity points.
No, I'm not going to, just because there will be times when you get that back anyway.
Okay.
But
Or better still, tempt us with luck points.
that too, you get that back too.
Just
I'll
roll
think
a 1d4.
I'll think about it. I'm more inclined towards a couple of luck points. Shall I just choose then to start with, and then we kind of go around?
Yeah, well, fine. I don't mind. Whichever way we do it, I think.
Let's go with you then, Phil.
Okay.
Okay.
See, you spoke up.
See, Phil, what happened there was we all did the equivalent of taking one step backwards.
Hey, you're breaking up.
Yeah, just do what somebody did in like a Zoom classroom lesson, where they put their camera off and rename themselves as Reconnecting.
Brilliant.
It's quite convincing.
I like that.
That's really good.
Okay, sweet. So I'll just make a note. Okay. Now, again, most of us know each other very well because we played a lot, but again, just because of the magnitude of the campaign, if there is something that comes up that, say, you really don't like how the scene is going, do we want something like the equivalent of an X card or a visual or anything, or like a communication to say no, I don't want to carry on with this scene?
I mean, we've got the private chat. You know, rather than sort of vocalize it, we can always sort of put it in the chat. That
We've always, in effect, had an X card, because you just speak up and say, no, I don't like that. I don't like where this is going. And then that's it.
Okay.
I mean,
fine.
we can come up with new hand gestures, but then it'll just be accidental, you know?
Cool. Okay, fine. I'll. That's fine. But yeah, private chat. If you rather put anything a bit more discreet, then yeah, cool, absolutely fine.
Well, the problem there is private chat. You're not watching it like a hawk, you know. Like sometimes I only notice things half hour later.
Yeah, that is
True.
true.
All right.
Okay, we'll speak up if we come across anything. But
Yeah.
after corporation, I don't think so.
True, but Giorgio doesn't know anything about what we've been up to in Corporation.
Yeah, we're
I'm
breaking-
sorry, I don't.
Right,
No.
Giorgio.
It's a long
Giorgio,
story.
we'll sum it up in one sentence. Whatever extreme possibility you could possibly imagine, we went there years ago and we're well past it.
All right.
Just,
Sounds
you
good.
know.
Sounds good.
Although obviously that is a completely different setting. It's very over the top and things. I mean, this is grand, but I wouldn't say it was over the top. And
It could get
serious
dark, I
rather
suppose,
than
and horror. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which leads me on to my next thing. Obviously, it's a horror game. We all know Cthulhu, etc. But in particular, at least from what I've read so far, there is things like racism, police brutality, sexism, signs of torture, and things like that, as well as sort of generic violence. Although, having said that, this new edition has been revised to kind of reduce stereotypes. So, for example, a group of cultists don't have to all be men, you know, things like that. But it's still quite raw sometimes. So, is there anything specific that you want? I mean, some of it is kind of inevitable, so I can't get rid of it completely. But is there anything specific that you'd rather is kind of hinted at but not explicit?
It's just the age-old rule. Just steer away from children and don't fuck the players.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to
I mean, I did, but
when it comes to sort of racism and the sexism debate, it's all contextual. If you were playing it in the modern day, I would probably have more of an issue because social mores have changed. But as we're dealing with this in the sort of teens and 20s, the sort of classic Cthulhu setting, I don't like that it existed then and was very prevalent then, but the truth is it was there.
Yeah.
And I suppose if you're trying to represent the world that was, it's kind of there. You know, it's unfortunate, but if we're learning anything from current events, it's that whitewashing things and avoiding things as if they never happened is one of the reasons we're having problems at the moment. So I say, hit it head on.
Also playing in some kind of setting like the 20s doesn't mean to endorse those values.
Exactly.
I mean, we are all grown enough in order to understand how to contextualize things. Mm-hmm. So saying that, all right, there's police brutality. I mean, I know I think everybody of us knows that that's wrong, even in the light of recent events. Doesn't mean that as far as the scenario allows it, we endorse it. That's on a whole other level, according to me at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, although we'll go into more detail on your characters in a moment, but we do have an African American in the party, at least for now, because we haven't started and none of you have died yet. So don't think that because you are PCs that you are immune to things like racism or sexism, etc.
I just want to take issue with how much emphasis you played on the word yet.
Well, yeah, it's a big campaign, and
you have none of the characters have died yet.
No, I'm sure you all know that this is quite renowned for characters being killed off.
Yes, I've heard it's a meat grinder.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go out of my way, especially to start with, because you're just getting into it, and that would be quite cruel. But at the same time, I do have a habit of trying to keep my player characters alive, whereas I'm going to kind of step back a little bit from that. There are many backup, NPCs or whatever that can come in as PCs later. I'm also happy if you'd rather make your own, but obviously, we can talk about that and discuss it and things. My other question is, well, one question I have is how do you want to play it in terms of knowing each other, not knowing each other? Do you even want to be an existing kind of organisation or group of investigators that are a bit more established? How would you like to do that?
Well, my background has me heading off to an unknown pyramid with somebody. Is that part of the prologue?
Right. So all of you will have at least a smidget about how you've been invited to Peru by Augustus Larkin. So all of you've got like a little snippet of possibly why you want to go there.
Yeah, actually, I volunteered. I wasn't invited. I just showed up.
I because I'm somewhat, well, the player in me wants to say suicidal, the character in me wants to say ambitious. Applied to join the expedition.
So
Surprisingly, managed to get selected without anyone really looking at my bona fides, which is a bit worrying.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything you want to add, by the way, to those reasons as to why you're there, then absolutely feel free to add anything.
Well, I'm the daughter of a naval attaché, and I'm known reasonably well as a portrait photographer, and I have been gaining a reputation of photographing archaeological sites. And so I'm not sure if I heard about the expedition at a soiree of some kind that my father was holding, but in any case, that's my purpose for being there, and my connection. So if anybody else is sort of reasonably well connected, then there's a good chance I might know them beforehand.
I have a feeling that we possibly picked the 4 characters that are most, maybe subconsciously, we picked the 4 characters that were most spaced out between each other.
I disagree a bit. I mean, Phil, for example, you're a linguist professor from Berlin, so you're going to have plenty of contacts potentially.
Well, yeah, he's. I mean, obviously he's from Germany, but he's moved to Berkeley. But he's very disillusioned with the academic side of it. He's never really settled in the States. So whether he actually made that many friends in America, I don't probably think he did.
It doesn't necessarily need to be America.
Are any of you living in Peru at this point in time?
No, I live in Berkeley.
Okay. Right, okay. Then the odds of me knowing any of you are not great.
Yeah, we've got two from the UK essentially, and then we've got one from Los Angeles.
Yeah, realistically, given I'm from LA and given that, given the way that I was recruited, I don't think I will know the other 3.
Okay.
I mean, it's possible we come across each other in Europe.
It is possible.
Maybe you know of a couple of you.
Well, did somebody else serve in the military? Because I was in the Royal Army. If someone served, it's more likely that we met each other sooner than later.
But in the German army in the First World War.
Yeah, obviously you'd have been on opposing sides.
Yeah.
Either of you got a reasonable rank?
I've gotten. I don't know what the rank was.
No, I don't think it says.
I don't believe I got a rank. I was a field medic.
Okay.
I served for 20 years though. So
yeah, might have been in the same battles, but probably don't know each other.
No.
Probably we tried to stab each other.
Hey, you never know. You might play football together on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that's true. That's a thing.
But also, if you're in the army for 20 years, if you made it to being an officer, there's a chance I'd have met you by being the daughter of the naval attaché. So, if you're an officer, then there's a chance that we could have met socially. Obviously not on the battlefield.
I was in the trenches apparently, so I don't think I made it officer probably.
Okay.
Still, we made it out.
Made it out, yeah. Somewhat damaged. I'm a bit shell shocked.
Indeed. Okay, so all right. General thing is then you don't really or don't know each other. You might have bumped
sound
into
like it.
each other at some point, possibly, or know of. But yeah, so, okay.
Yeah. Well, I've applied to join as well, like Ronnie's character. So I'm quite keen to be heading to Peru.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, you've all got your own motives. It's just again whether you wanted to know each other as well, which is an option. Okay. Just a little thing. Again, because there are so many handouts, I'm gonna kind of display them on the screen. But in terms of how you want to read them, like, do you want me to put them in the drive with the characters, or do you want it like in the Facebook chat or somewhere else?
Well, I'm keeping a folder for the campaign, so on the drive would probably make more sense, so I can download them.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Sweet.
100%.
Cool.
I
Alright,
just
that makes
forgot
sense.
that there was a drive folder, and I have no idea what account you shared me in on that with.
Yeah, I don't believe that the folder is shared with me, since I only have the zip file for the pregens.
Okay. Well, I haven't been into it anyway since then, so I can make it a bit more, actually email out to you and do it that way.
Yeah, whatever.
Sweet. Yeah, so I'll put handouts up on the screen. If anything like text, obviously I'll read out. If you want me to read it again, then obviously I will. But I would definitely recommend, especially if there's quite a lot of stuff in a handout, to go over it and read it. Also, during a session, if you'd rather sit down for a bit, obviously role-playing, and just talk about certain things you've uncovered, rather than go off somewhere, then just say, that's absolutely fine, and it's probably advisable to do that at certain points, just to kind of get your head around certain things, because again, lots of moving pieces. Couple of things that I will be doing in the campaign, just sort of just the one thing really with house rules, which other people have done before. I'm going to give you essentially the equivalent of inspiration in D&D if you roleplay your characters well, but rather than inspiration, I will give you a bonus die.
All right.
Okay. One each max. I've written down your main role-playing traits, so I do know what they are. So if I think that you're doing that well, then I will give you a bonus die. There will obviously be other times when you can do bonus dice.
There are traits somewhere? Oh!
Yeah, on the second page of your character sheet, mainly. But also, I've looked at bits of your background as well and picked bits out of there.
Okay. Guys, she's offensive back.
Except with the without the South Carolina twang.
Yeah.
We at this point, the twang ain't a thing that we're happy about. It's the fact that she can hit.
No, she can't fight. She just seems to have the attitude.
That attitude got us a long way in that campaign, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, one more thing actually, in that there are some kind of optional scenarios which you may or may not go down the route of. They're not always completely relevant to the entire campaign, but they're still good fun. And obviously teaming with mythos and all that stuff. But in terms of kind of longevity of your characters, I would definitely say, play to your strengths, and if you have kind of weaknesses, so say for example combat, because I know you're not really particularly combat heavy, don't be afraid to ask for assistance or call on other people. You will build up contacts and allies hopefully during the campaign. If not, you're doing something wrong. So don't feel like you have to do everything yourself. Like, it is a living, breathing world. There are literally so many NPCs in this game. It's
Okay, so if I'm playing to my strengths, I do psychology and photography, and the rest I get lost.
Yeah, I have written down your kind of, dare I say, trained skills, so I know what
I have
things to
charm
do
as
with.
well, actually.
Yes,
Okay.
you're very charismatic.
Okay.
I was going to say something.
I've kind of got the book smarts.
I'm obviously good at languages because I'm a language professor. I've got a little bit of shoot, but stand behind me.
And I'm touching you up.
My shooting ability is basically I know which way the gun should be pointed. And I know there's that little thing on the gun that you're meant to go like that with and point it at somebody and
Once you
supposedly
touch
something
it,
comes out.
Once you touch it, it goes boom.
Yes.
That's the way to go. You don't need to know anything more.
Go that way and go bang.
Yeah. Since I'm a non-native English speaker, as probably you already noticed, on my traits it says doesn't suffer fools lightly. Then that means that I cannot stand them, or whatever.
Yeah.
Basically, anyone being an idiot, you tend to get really annoyed with.
Or grumpy. All right.
Especially if people kind of take you for a fool more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, you have the kind of attitude, I wasn't born yesterday.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Yes. Also, another thing specific to this campaign, as well as points where you can improve your skills and get sanity back and luck back and things, you can also take on new skills if you want. I think it's slightly different.
All of them, please.
All of them.
Yes.
There will also be, say, if you uncover or discover something specific, you might get a bit of a skill anyway, and obviously I will tell you if you do.
Okay.
So there is that as well.
Yes. What we want to be able to do is to do that brilliant thing where we all have really high Cthulhu Mythos stats and really high sanity.
Last Cthulhu campaign I played, I did gain a load of Mythos, but I also gave quite a lot of ballet.
Yes. Ballet.
That's a new one.
That was an NPC.
I don't think I've ever got any Mythos points, actually.
I don't recall actually rolling it for anything, but
No, there is a
got
short
about
way to
8
get
Can I just
Mythos
double check, Jason? Because
Aye.
again, this could be a difference between editions, so I don't want to make assumptions.
Yeah.
Is it still the same rule that your Cthulhu Mythos comes off your top end of your sanity? So if you have, say, 20 in Cthulhu Mythos, then the most amount of sanity you can have goes down by 20 points.
No, that's completely gone. So
That's changed.
Everyone's mythos starts at 0 unless it says so in your background, which it doesn't. So you're all at 0.
Yeah.
And basically, like I said, there are certain ways or sure ways to get Cthulhu Mythos points.
and none of them involve keeping your sanity.
Because it used to be just for the, and Stephen, I know watching this will know this well. With 3rd edition, 4th edition, your top sanity was 99.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was as much as the sanity could go.
Yeah.
But your Cthulhu Mythos score came off of that.
Yeah, no, not with this.
So the basically the more mythos you knew, the crazier you got.
It still works that way, because as you learn Cthulhu Mythos, you're never going to do that without having to make a sanity roll. So
yeah. The difference is that your starting sanity is matching your POW.
I think all it is they didn't feel it necessary to bother writing rules to update your sanity maximum, because you never get back there.
Yeah.
Well, there's that. There is that. But that was always the thing. I mean, as with 3rd and 4th, your starting san was your your power as well, but it always gave you the hope that you could get higher.
The biggest thing that I've found with 7th is like it's no longer pass, but you've got these 3 levels of pass.
Yes.
And as the GM, you don't care what number someone rolled. It's just, was it standard, hard, or extreme? And it's learning those 3 terms. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the...
But the
that
sheet
was
is
the-
pretty good because it does that for you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Which is
that-
lovely.
That was the main thing of learning in the last game.
The thing I struggle with 7th is you've got this whole thing of how many sanity points can you lose in a session before you gain an insanity?
Ah, right. Now I have
Because
read
the
things
character
like
sheet doesn't let you track this properly.
No, it
No, it
isn't.
doesn't,
But
no.
what I've done is I've
It used to
written
be
it
20. It used to be 20% of whatever your total was in one go. Or
I've
as,
written
or
it
as a
down
session.
for you, so I will know if it happens to you. But basically, if you lose 5 points or more in one go, you become temporarily insane and have a bout of madness, which is always good fun. If you lose a fifth of your current sanity in one day, then you will become indefinitely insane. So I've got your current sanity and their fifth written down at the moment, and I will ask you each day what your current sanity is for that reason. So therefore,
Right.
if I know that you've lost this many already, then I think okay, so indefinitely. But yeah, I completely agree. You can't really track it very well unless you're writing it in pencil or something.
But it's a digital sheet. There's no place to just
exactly.
write that number. It's really annoying.
I just want to say,
Old fashioned.
It's only as good as the words you write next to the number. That's the problem. And you need to know when it needs to be time stamped.
Yeah, I mean, somewhere since the beginning of the campaign and to the session we are playing.
Huh.
I just looked at my character, and I just want to say this right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you value your lives, I'm not driving.
All right.
Oh, I have a little bit of skill there.
Well,
I have
I
very little,
got the base 20.
yeah.
I got 30.
All right. We made ourselves a chauffeur, guys.
Yeah.
Which basically,
Go get the armored car. I'm ready.
Oh my god, the French person's driving.
Armored car.
20% means is that we can make it go and we can drive it along in a nice even keel. But if we do anything that requires a roll, you guys are dying. I just
Now,
you're-
you see,
I love how you're
whereas with my
always on drive.
30%, I can go over a pothole.
yeah, I can't do that at 20%.
I
Becky?
love how you guys were that drive.
Becky, just what you're saying about insanity there. If you look at your insanity table, just above the 8 is your temp insanity box to write that
Yeah.
down. Just above
No,
the
it's a
12
tick.
is your indefinite insanity box to write that in.
Yeah. But all you can do is put a cross in
Oh.
it. You can't
yeah.
store the number.
That's when you go then, is it?
Yeah, because see, the thing is,
It's
if you lose 4 points and then you lose 5 points and then you lose 2 points and then you go, wait a minute, what was my sanity at the start of this session?
If they just made that so you could write a number in, it would solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do have it written down. For one of the reasons. Right, so if there's no more questions, I'm going to grab another beer. In the meantime, I'd like you all to roll your luck, please.
Okay.
Are you calling them?
Oh, bugger. That is grossly... Can I get advantage?
What is this advantage you speak of? There's no such thing.
16.
Keeper.
I got the old, I got 61.
On 3d6.
Oh, 3d6.
Yes, 3d6 you've drawn.
Oh, I thought it was a percentile roll.
No, 3d6.
Well, I'm not even going to get 16 then, am I?
No.
I got 5.
I got 11.
Is it
I
multiplied by
got
5?
5 as well. I got
Oh,
5
times
as
5.
well. Yeah,
Wait,
times
so it's
5.
hang on, sorry. What?
3d6 times 5.
Times 5. Okay, so 25.
Oh, and 55.
Yeah, me too.
That's still a bit
35.
shit for me. 25. Yeah.
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 Ah, So, luck will not be a feature of this character in this campaign.
Yeah. Not mine too.
Mm-hmm.
Right, what have we got then?
It would seem the song from Guys and Dolls is entirely appropriate. The great song "Luck Be a Lady Tonight." Well, that's clearly the same for me because I've got shitty luck.
You saying ladies are shit?
Have you all rolled 3d6 times 5?
You're not so
Yes.
far away that I can't punch you, Ronnie.
Okay, so
I'm far enough.
Arthur, what do you have?
I got 25 total. Exactly. Two,
Francoise,
two, and
you
one.
were the same?
I have 25 in total for the whole campaign.
Not necessarily.
No, you're right. I could die and get a new character.
Maybe with even less luck.
20.
20, Johan.
No, she could end up 20 if she wants a new character. 55.
55, Winston?
Can you lend some?
40.
Yeah,
I don't think you can learn luck now.
my luck is
no.
terrible. It's like my
No, you
luck with the
can't.
ladies. I just can't.
No, you can't.
Just got no luck.
Okay.
Well, yeah, maybe if you didn't associate women with being a bit shit, then
No, I wasn't associating women with being shit. I was associating my luck with women as being shit.
She's not
Just
really
to clarify that
Doesn't
point.
sound particularly good, Ronnie.
would you like a spade?
No, I'm digging this hole on my own. Thank you very much.
Dig in the hole. Okay, yeah. So at least the next session, yes, I'll give you a luck incentive because that's quite unlucky, dare I say it. But whenever I say yes, you can do an improvement phase, luck is part of that.
All right.
Don't you have to do the thing where you roll over, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And with sanity, that comes in your rewards. So again, normally at the same time as an improvement phase, there are certain rewards that I will let you know of, depending on what you do or what you don't do, or maybe you lose some because you make a really bad decision. But obviously, I'll let you know.
And as he's watching, Stephen, I will try this time to do better with upping my skills.
Yes.
His entire campaign, every time we got to a point where we could have upped our character's skills, was the only time I rolled under those flipping skills. Every single, I never raised a single skill. I think maybe once I managed to raise a skill.
Indeed.
That's the way it goes.
Right. Let me just. Here we go. Okay. Just so I can do this up. Okay. Is everyone ready then to begin?
Of course.
You're not going to do anything now because you look so bad.
I'm listening.
Alright. Beg pardon?
I'm listening.
Oh, you're listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, yeah. Okay, so, just a little opening scene, shall I say, to begin with, kind of in media res. So, you're all standing in the dimly lit corridor of a hotel. Ahead of you is a hotel room, bearing the number 410. 410. As you knock on the door, you hear a muffled cry and movement within. A sense of foreboding grips you as you look at the faces of your companions. Something terrible lies within. With but a moment of hesitation, you rush through the door into room 410 to find what lies within and your destiny. But for now, we fade to black. And you are heading into a bar. Yep, we're starting the campaign in a bar. Or tavern, but it is a bar. In response to this telegram that you've received from Augustus Larkin. Let me just get the thing up. Which says, thank you for joining the expedition. Stop. Please join me in Lima. Stop. Have booked your room at Hotel Maori. Stop. Meet 18th of March at 7 p.m. at Bar Cordano, Giron Ancash 202, Distrito de Lima. Stop. Augustus Larkin. You may or may not have also seen this article in the newspaper, which basically points to him trying to recruit for investigators, basically, to help him in his endeavours, which says, Explorer plans expedition to discover site of lost civilization. Lima, January 12th. Explorer Augustus Larkin is planning an expedition to the southern highlands of Peru, where he hopes to identify the site of a pyramid long forgotten by history. Following the discovery of a number of gold artifacts in the region, Larkin believes that he has found evidence that will lead him to their source. He is currently in Lima planning the expedition and is recruiting companions and possible backers. So, you have reached the entrance of the Bar Cordano. You've also checked into the Hotel Maori with your luggage, and it is roughly around 7 p.m. In terms of sort of general things, so it's 18th of March 1921, which in Peruvian climate and season is late summer. The weather is dry and sunny. Francoise in particular has become quite accustomed to this, having been in Lima now for a little while. So it's a lovely, balmy evening, although you go inside to eat and drink. So when you head in, you assume Augustus Larkin is there, which he is, and you are shown to his table, and there are two other people sitting there as well, which I will show you. So Augustus Larkin, you spot, he is a Caucasian-looking man. He's quite gaunt-looking. He looks pleased to see you. There is somebody as well with a kind of a goatee, longer hair, who looks quite standoffish. He's quite sort of rigid in the way he sits. And there's also an African-American gentleman who, again, looks quite happy to see you. Although he doesn't sort of verbalize anything, he just sort of smiles. And he might shake one of your hands if you offer. But Augustus definitely is sort of the head of the table and is kind of taking control of the conversation. You must be the recruits. Please do have a seat. I will get some drinks in. I highly recommend the pisco sours, which are served here. And you can see, if you look around the bar, it's a rather extravagant bar. There are so many drinks behind the counter. But apparently pisco sours are renowned at this specific bar. And you can see, actually, a couple of them are already drinking some. He also talks about the food a bit and says, I highly recommend the esabeche. It's a hot, sweet and sour food dish once we get to ordering. But please do have a seat. You, at least some of you must have travelled quite far, and I hope your travels were smooth.
Yes, thank you very much. I said
so as you sit down, and obviously you're kind of seeing each other for the first time, let's quickly go through and just explain what you look like and introduce yourself. So let's start off with, if I just bring the thing back to how it was, let's go with Arthur first of all, please.
Well, as I was saying, my name is Arthur Dibden. I served for 20 years in the Royal Army as a medic. Actually, I sites of the USA, and I grew fascinated with South America, which led me first to Mexico and then to Colombia. And after being there for a few months and helping and giving assistance with the Spanish flu epidemic, I heard about the expedition established here, so I decided to come and see Peru for myself.
Fantastic. Okay, and on to Winston next, please.
Yes, my name is Winston Greene. I'm not going to try an accent.
You don't need to. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm not trying either.
I'm not going to do an accent this time because it tends to run into comedy, and I really don't want to do comedy for this. So My name is Winston Greene. I am African American. I'm tall, slim, kind of wiry, good-looking guy, obviously. I'm wearing a well-tailored suit. I appear well-mannered as I sit down.
Okay. And Francoise.
So I arrive, I'm white, I have wavy blonde hair, and I'm wearing some tan slacks and a white blouse. And over my shoulder is a leather satchel camera bag, basically. Hello. It is a pleasure to meet all of you.
Okay, and Johan.
Yes, Johan Braun is a 48-year-old language professor, currently residing in Berkeley, in the US. Born in Bavaria, in Germany. He has moved to America to pick up this post, but hasn't ever really settled in the States, and has become a bit disillusioned with America. And he was very pleased to find this advert in the paper, and quite excited when he actually got accepted for the expedition. And he thinks his language skills are going to be really useful on this mission.
Okay, fantastic. So yes, Augustus gets in a round of drinks. Is there anything particular that you like, or are you a little bit kind of fish out of water in terms of what there is?
I will have a sherry.
Oh.
I will have a glass of iced water, please.
I'll have a schnapps.
I'll have whatever he's offering.
Then a pisco sour, sir. Which is very refreshing. You see a lot of the other patrons are having these. Obviously, it is a cocktail, so it is quite strong, but at the same time, in this kind of heat, it's very nice. But of course, the other drinks are brought and so on. And as dinner kind of unfolds, it's a very sort of relaxed affair, to the extent that the kind of the food comes out quite slowly and things like that, and you have time to talk and digest. In terms of it being not relaxed, you notice fairly quickly this fellow who he already had sort of slightly tense body language, but you notice that the atmosphere with him and this gentleman who introduced himself as Jesse Hughes, the African-American gentleman, there's a little bit of tension between the two, and you're not sure why. But Augustus seems to kind of brush over that, maybe even ignore it to a degree, as he sort of is happy to answer questions about the expedition, talks to you about the sort of general gist of what's going to happen.
Can you tell us how far away the site is from this hotel?
Yes, absolutely. Although I can't give you exact distance measurements. You understand?
I'm thinking more of how many changes of shirt I may need.
Yes, of course. So essentially, what I'm hoping is that you're all going to be at least a little bit more well off by the end of this, whether in terms of what you take with you from the place, or any sort of reputation you build from what you learn if you're more academically inclined. But yes, so let me tell you how I came across this. So I've been in this area for some time, and I essentially came across an alpaca farmer in Puno, not too far from here, but more in the highlands towards Lake Titicaca to the south. Now, of course, you probably think, well, of course you're going to bump into an alpaca farmer, but he had some strange and rather valuable items on him, and he actually starts to get a couple out for you to show. He says, yes, I bought these off him. I asked him, well, where on earth did you get them from? And he talked about these tunnels underneath a pyramid up in the mountains, so up in the Andes. So when he gets these out, essentially one of them is a pendant. It's in the form of a man holding two rods, or possibly staves, you're not sure. And the other one is a golden cup that's carved with geometrical patterns. There's lots of sort of circles inlaid with turquoise as well. In particular, Winston, this really catches your eye being an archaeologist, so if you want to roll archaeology, then you can.
I certainly will. Just get to the actual bit of my character sheet so I can see how good my archaeology is. Oh, right. Let's see. How many times I
it is
failed
your
this roll?
specialist subject, so hopefully not too bad.
Yeah. Well, I got under half, so
So that's a hard pass. Okay,
Yeah.
give that box a little tick. That happens whenever you pass a skill, you give it a tick so you know to upgrade it later. So, when you look at them, Winston, you can see that the two pieces are, interestingly, from different distinctive periods of time and cultures. The first one, this pendant, it's kind of, you think it resembles some artifacts from a place called Tiwanaku, which you know of, dating back to the 5th century. And the other one is, you think, of Incan design, so much later, from the 15th century or so.
that's the cup.
Yes, the cup is sort of more Incan. You know as well that Tiwanaku is sort of in Bolivia. It's like a pre-Columbian site.
I'm very intrigued by these, given the discrepancy between the two cultures.
Yes, absolutely.
This pendant is 5th century.
Yes. You're the archaeologist, aren't you?
Yes. This
You
goblet.
have an eye for these.
This goblet is some 1,000 years later. It's 15th century Incan.
Well, I assumed it
That
was
would be my
Incan,
guess.
but yes, I would imagine so. But you're right; they are very distinctive, which makes this trip even more worthwhile, I think, given the mysteries that lie within these tunnels and this pyramid.
I'm certainly intrigued as to how a 5th century Bolivian pendant found itself in the same place as a 15th century Incan cup.
Yes, indeed.
Very intriguing.
I
It
even
looks
asked
like
him... Oh, go ahead. Sorry, madam.
I just thought it looks like a divining stick with the two men holding the man holding the two sticks.
It's certainly one possible interpretation.
Well, Titicaca is a lake.
It is a lake, yes, and we will need to convene towards that way in terms of getting towards the mountains. So, you know, if you want to stay there for a little bit, then feel free. It is beautiful up there. But yeah, so he kind of tells you more about it. So the general gist is that you kind of travel up there. It will take maybe a few days, depending on how long you want to stay in Puno or you know, near the lake. You can bypass that completely if you want, but obviously that could potentially be a more intense trek.
Well, I think it might be worth going to Puno and seeing if we can pick up a few other items quickly. It might be interesting.
Can you just repeat that bit? Sorry. So,
If we stop at Puno on the way, it might be interesting to see what other bits and pieces we could pick up, actually.
Oh, you mean you think there's more gold in Puno?
Well, I mean, if this farmer has some, he might actually have some more.
No, I don't think so. I've been to Puno a few times, sir. It's quite a remote place. No, he was adamant that these were from his grandfather. Although he couldn't tell me exactly where this pyramid was. However, I have done some research, or rather we have done some research, and he gestures to... you're starting to think that it might be his assistant, the sort of tense man who doesn't really say very much. This De Mendoza fellow. Well, we know roughly where it is. We have an idea, so we know where to go in the mountains. There might be a little bit of, toing and froing, but we've narrowed it down to a rough area. You see the African American fellow who's introduced himself as Jesse Hughes. You realise that he has been recruited as well as an investigator, and he's quite keen to know about this research as well that Larkin has done about the area. However, Larkin sort of shakes his head and says, "I'm so sorry, but I actually got rid of the research. It's all up here. Reason being, the fact I put my recruitment out widely, in a wide circle. There's easy competition that could come through. And I want to get there first, frankly, as I'm sure you do as well."
I have a feeling that
I'll say it to myself, but I'm not trusting this dude.
Yeah.
I think that to myself, though, since he's the one hiring me, but getting rid of vital information because you just remember it.
Okay.
Doesn't sound good to my ears.
Did you divulge this information regarding the various treasures and so on when sending out your recruitment? I heard tale that you had found. I mean, the recruitment that had been given to me was the notion of there had been some finds of archaeological importance, but these would definitely be considered the sort of trinkets that, shall we say, glory seekers would and treasure hunters would come in their droves for. Has your wide-ranging recruitment possibly put us in a race?
I assume you're talking about the newspaper clipping. I mean, this is not the first time people have gone up to find a pyramid in Peru, considering, I'm sure you understand, Winston, the historical and archaeological importance of such an area. Incans alone, let alone before then. But there's no specifics in that clipping. I don't know if you've read it. But the Andes are incredibly vast. If you don't know where you're going, then you will surely run out of supplies, eventually die if you're not careful. You do not go up there unless you know where you're going. And I assure you, I know where I'm going. And you see the de Mendoza fellow kind of give a stern...
Very well.
And how many of us are on the expedition? Is it a large expedition?
Well, it is yourselves, and he gestures to all of you and Jesse. We are going to hire some trucks, however, to take up our equipment. We've got 3 trucks and drivers to take us up to Puno, which is again on the shores of the lake. Once we're there, I'm going to organise some pack animals for us all, stock up on fresh food, things like that. And if my calculations are correct, then the actual trek to the pyramid should take no longer than 4 days.
So a few shirts then.
Yes, I would highly recommend, even though it is a little grey up in the Highlands, I would definitely take coverings so you don't get too much sunstroke.
Very well.
All right.
It's a very interesting opportunity you're giving us.
Well, yes.
You're giving to people you don't know, basically.
Well,
I mean,
yes,
if
yes,
you are
indeed.
so concerned with concurrence, why hire someone you barely know?
Indeed, that is a very good point, Mr. Dibden. May I call you Arthur?
Yes, please do.
Yes, Arthur. To be honest with you, like I said, everything is up here. In terms of, I have also, cast out my net, I've asked other people, but you are the ones to respond. only you will know where I am taking you to, because I know where the place is. Although, if you do want to do some further research for yourselves, I highly recommend there's a university nearby, the Museo de Arqueologia y Antropologia, which is, for those of you who speak Spanish, the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. And you see Jesse kind of nod as if he knows what that means as well, and he kind of has like a beaming smile. You get the gist that he kind of wants to go there. His eyes kind of light up a little bit.
Yeah, I believe I'll go with him if it makes if he makes clear his intentions. All right, I wasn't coming up with words.
Do you actually say that like out loud to him? Do you actually offer?
Sí. Yes. Sí. Yes, I offer to.
Sí, claro.
Sí.
Yeah, I'll be interested in tagging along on that one. It'll be a very interesting visit.
Yeah, Jesse looks at the two of you and goes, "Well, that is absolutely wonderful. Wonderful then. Perhaps we could go. Let's see. When are we actually?" And he asks Augustus, "When are we actually leaving? Is it tomorrow?" Yes. Please. Yes. So we are staying in a nearby hotel, just 10 minutes away, the Hotel España. If you could meet with us at 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, that would be good.
Okay.
Well, my purpose is to document the quest. So, I'll take a photo, if I may, with you, Arthur holding. Not Arthur. Sorry. What's Larkin's first name?
Augustus.
Augustus with the trinkets, and I'll frame it so that I get sort of Arthur holding the trinkets and then the backs of everyone else. So like it's him talking to the expedition.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Are you? You're not a journalist, are you?
No, I am the photographer that
Yes,
to document.
I wondered if you were in the journalism industry. Francoise, you can make me a psychology roll actually when he asks you, "Are you in journalism?"
Any excuse to possibly get a tip. Oh wow. That is an extreme success.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, he almost kind of. It's not quite a Freudian slip, but you definitely think he instinctively asks as if almost he's a little worried if you're in journalism. Also, as you're kind of looking at him whilst sort of answering, you can see that he's looking quite sort of. He's perspiring a lot. Maybe not because he's nervous, but he's just perspiring. And he's kind of shuffling around a bit, almost trying to cover up that fact.
Okay, well, I'll reassure him. No, you spoke to one of my father's assistants, recall, the attaché.
Yes, indeed. All right, I was simply just wondering.
I am more of an artist than a writer.
Ah, wonderful. Well, as the kind of the last sort of dessert and after dinner mint stuff sort of comes out, do you have any more questions for him at this point?
No, I believe I'm good.
Okay. Well, Jesse has one more question for him. In fact, no, actually, I've just realised that I need to say apologies. It's not tomorrow when we're going, it's the 21st, so in 3 days from now.
Oh, a couple of days, yeah.
We are leaving in 3 days.
Yes.
All right.
Now, as soon as I said tomorrow, I suddenly thought, hold on, is it? No, it's not, so apologies. No, 21st.
In fact, I was thinking, all right, he gave us address to the museum, but we are leaving tomorrow morning. I mean, what's the point?
Hold on a
But
minute.
thank you. So the 21st, and we are on the 18th.
It's the
Is that
18th
right?
today, yeah, but it's 7 o'clock, so you've got a few hours left. But yeah, Jesse asks, so when we get to the pyramid, do you know what to expect? Is it safe? Are there precautions set up? Things like that. And Augustus says, well, we need to obviously examine the site, and we must do so carefully. There is the main pyramid and some tunnels, as far as I'm aware. Whether they are either connected to or adjacent, I'm not entirely sure.
Like the Egyptian ones with the tunnels inside the pyramid?
He sort of does a slight laugh at that, because you get the impression that he knows his history quite well. But he says to you, oh my dear, they are quite different in terms of layout and architecture. But I suppose they are for a similar purpose.
So we're going into a tomb then?
Well, whether we find any bodies or not, I really don't know. Depends how old it is, I suppose, and how well preserved things are. The fact that this person, Mr. Mollo, he refers to the alpaca farmer, the fact that his grandfather apparently obtained these items must mean that it's at least fairly easy to get inside. So hopefully there are things still there.
You didn't manage to glean from the farmer whether this is a wider site, or is it just a pyramid by itself? Did you, or is it part of a bigger complex? Or
he doesn't think so. No, it seems to be. I'm assuming you've heard of Machu Picchu. It's nowhere near as grand as that. But it does seem to be a pyramid up in the highlands, probably isolated. If there is something nearby, it may be, say, a few hundred, possibly even more yards away.
okay.
So, quite old indeed. There's a little bit more pleasantries after that. A couple more drinks are ordered in. Again, this De Mendoza fellow, he doesn't really say much at all. And the kind of tension between him and Jesse is growing a little bit more, and it's a little bit uncomfortable. But in any case...
I know it is black.
Larkin actually gets up from the table at one point and excuses himself and says he needs to lie down.
Oh, yes, certainly. It's the heat, probably the damn heat. It's very humid.
A little, but it's an early start for me and my colleague, and again he gestured at De Mendoza, tomorrow. So, I suppose I'm just being sensible, dare I say it.
Is the restaurant busy? Is it quite a busy hotel, or?
This is just the bar. The hotel that you're in is just sort of a stone's throw away, down the street. So yeah, it's fairly busy. It's a little bit quieter now than it was because it's getting to sort of 9:30 or so. But again, given the sort of Spanish sort of style of eating, things take a while. It's social and people talk a lot. So yeah, plenty of covers in.
So it's mainly sort of locals rather than foreigners and tourists here.
There's a few locals. There are some people that are not local. You think they're certainly not talking Spanish. It's Francoise. You know actually that Lima is actually quite a stop for people either passing through or explorers and things like that. So yeah, you actually do spot a couple of French people. There's some Americans, German, things like that. Right. So as Larkin gets up to leave, and also you can see that De Mendoza is getting up as well, presumably to follow him. You can make me a spot hidden or medicine roll. Because Larkin's really sweating quite a lot now. He almost looks a bit ill.
All of us?
I pass.
Yeah, however you want. Okay.
That's 16. Just above my 5th.
Spend a luck point if you want.
I fail. I've had two
Yeah,
actions.
I do. I mean, I don't really need them. I don't have them. So that's an extreme success.
Okay. Did you do spot hidden or medicine, Arthur?
I did medicine.
Medicine. Okay, and presumably the other two did. Well, the two that passed did
Spot hidden.
I did spot hidden. I got a hard success.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, those of you who did spot hidden, yeah, you definitely see that he's sweaty, he's paler. Yeah, he does look a bit ill, and also you notice his hands are actually starting to tremble. Arthur, though, because of your medicine roll, you also get the impression that his symptoms resemble an opiate withdrawal.
All right.
With the spot hiddens, did you just do a regular pass?
I did, but I think Ronnie got.
I got a hard pass.
Okay. With your hard pass, what I'll say is as well, because he's perspired so much, his shirt has become almost a bit see-through, from all the sweat going into his fabric. So what you notice is this quite big sort of, you're not sure what it is on his chest, either a tattoo possibly, or a scar, something quite big kind of in this area.
This is Augustus, yeah?
You are, sorry?
This is Augustus.
Yes, Augustus. Yeah, De Mendoza is more kind of in a more kind of formal suit. He's got kind of a jacket on. Yeah, there's definitely something on his chest.
I'll suggest August to lay down in order to recover from these kind of symptoms, and to apply cold water on the forehead, and maybe have a good night of sleep.
Good thinking, old man. Good thinking. But yes, I am definitely going to take my leave if you don't mind. And he heads out with De Mendoza, presumably to go back to their hotel, España. Which leaves Jesse. Now Jesse, he kind of turns to you. He's sort of sipping on I don't say pina colada then, but it's more pisco sour. And he kind of knocks back a bit and says, "Well, I'm doing fine. I actually love this heat. Do you fancy, adjourning to somewhere and getting another drink?"
Count me in.
I would, with regret, I will pass. I'm quite tired. I think I will take your leave. It was very nice meeting everyone. I look forward to a successful expedition. But I'm going to turn in for the evening. Thank you very much.
See you tomorrow then.
Not a problem at all.
I hardly think it appropriate, and I also get up to leave.
Yeah, I'm a bit tired. It's a lot of travelling. I will retire for tonight, and we'll meet again for the museum tomorrow.
Yes, actually. Do you mind just staying for a few minutes, because I was hoping to talk about that, because I was intending to go there anyway.
Certainly.
Yeah, please.
But not just simply to, and he kind of checks the door to make sure they've gone, and says not to just simply look around and look for research. So maybe, and he gestures to Winston and Francoise, maybe it would be worth staying at least for a little while.
What are you up to, Jesse? What do you have in mind?
So I'll say that you kind of get your table cleared and you go to the more sort of bar area. He gets some more drinks in. And he says, "Well, to be frank with you, I've been following these two for some time."
All right, and what did you find out?
He turns to you, Arthur, and says, "I can tell that you don't trust them, do you?"
Not quite. I mean, I grew up and was formed under strict discipline, just remembering things with actual backup or people I can trust. Going on a so delicate expedition that doesn't makes me too comfortable. Let's put it that way. I don't trust him. It's a strong word.
I certainly
a-
find his recruitment somewhat haphazard, but perhaps there's method in the madness.
Madness, you say? Now that is interesting. That is interesting, brother. Well, I kind of
Merely a
dabble in a
Freudian
little.
slip.
Well, I kind of dabble in a little bit of madness myself in that I'm an author. But specifically, I seek out cults around the world. Ones in particular that do rather terrible practices. And I've written a few books on such things, but in terms of those two there, like I said, I've been following them for some time. Well, I originally came here because I'd heard a little bit about a potential cult possibly operating in Peru right now on the basis of they've been going maybe for a few hundred years, or maybe they've been revived. I've done quite a lot of research on this. People have warned me as well about the man, de
Mendoza.
Mendoza. You see, he was obviously angry with me. He doesn't trust me, I don't think.
By all accounts, that seems to be a good assessment, no?
Just to reiterate, you know that Winston's black as well.
I am not comfortable being in this bar with you.
Do you mind me asking why?
For a start, I am a lady, and this is a bar, and I am with a group of men. And secondly, you are talking about some kind of black voodoo magic.
Not necessarily black, no, in fact, quite the opposite. The history that I've looked at is that this cult could quite easily come from white people, Spanish conquistadors, in fact, who came over here in the 16th century.
And you think you can find more information on this at the museum?
Absolutely. I have an appointment with Mr. Sanchez, who is at the university. Interestingly, he was one of the other potential recruits for this expedition, which I know
Sanchez,
Larkin
you
probably
said?
didn't tell you. Yes, Sanchez. He was quite firmly turned down.
Not qualified, or
Far from it. He knows a lot about Peruvian history. So,
interesting.
not entirely sure why, but perhaps if you're happy to go there with me tomorrow, then we may find out why.
Yes, I would certainly be interested in finding out more about this mystery.
But yes, I definitely believe that there is a real cult here somewhere. There have been incidences of people being murdered nearby. Even
Nearby Lima.
near Lima, near Puna, all in that area. Farmers, many locals. And it's funny because Larkin, so I hear, first tried to recruit locals to his little adventure, and they all turned him down. They are scared of what's up there. Now,
So you expect to find a cult in an empty tomb?
not at all, my dear, not at all. But I definitely think that those two, Larkin and de Mendoza, are involved somehow, and I want to get to the bottom of what that is. Now, don't get me wrong, I do not believe in any of this mumbo-jumbo. I do not think that there is any kind of magic or anything of that nature. These are all human beings. Hell, even locals were telling me that de Mendoza could be a monster. They call him a Cariceri. I mean, I know what the Cariceri are, but I don't believe in them at all. They were conquistadors originally. That's when they originated from. If you'll excuse me, madam, because he understands that is quite a gruesome topic. Legend has it that they are white-faced men who suck the fat out of their victims.
To suck what?
They suck the fat, body fat, and he kind of gests.
I wasn't hearing you. That's why I asked. They suck the bloody fat.
No, just fat. They don't want blood. It's not like Transylvania vampires.
The body fat.
Body fat. That's right.
Fat vampires, yes.
Now I think it's just a pagan legend because, come on, really. But there is definitely something going on here, and like I said, I want to find out what this is.
It would appear that we may be doing the Lord's work.
Well, yes. Depending on how big this really is, and I only know certain things about it, we could potentially be helping a lot of people.
May I ask you something, Jesse?
Of course. By the way,
Yeah.
let's drop that whole thing with Jesse. It's and again he checks the door. It's a pseudonym I use to stop people like them getting too close to me, But he introduced himself, and again he sort of reshakes your hands as Jackson Elias.
All right. Let's see. May I ask you something, Jackson?
Sure.
Aren't you afraid that even though the Mendoza is pretty angry at you, it still let you in the expedition?
He can be as angry at me as he wants, but the fact that Larkin wants me in the expedition, he can't really do anything. He's just an assistant.
I'd watch my back if I were you.
Oh, don't worry, I am. But
Do you accept the possibility that perhaps the reason he keeps you in the expedition is because he wishes to lose you in the mountains?
yes, granted, I am putting myself in quite a risky position.
I would say if what you say is true, then you are in real danger. If what you're saying is not true, I believe you've opened yourself up to possible charges of slander.
Well, like I said, there is the university if you don't believe me. But it's not just me who's in danger at this point, we all are.
Well, yes. I have much to think about. I am very exhausted now, and I have much to prey upon. But I would very much like to accompany you when you go to this museum. For no other reason, I'm interested in seeing the museum, but I'm more interested in the history of the region.
Yes. And
Well, I
the
think-
archaeology, I imagine.
I think
Yeah.
if this story is true, we need to be fully aware before we leave the city and go out into the mountains.
Yes.
Well, bear in mind, it's not a story. This is my research. Again, in terms of the whole magic stuff, I don't believe that at all. But what I found is all documented and researched.
So I'll be
What was the professor's name?
Sanchez. I will introduce you to him tomorrow.
It was the University of Archaeology and Anthropology, except she'll say that bit in Spanish. Which I can't.
Yes, and he does the Spanish really quite well. He just kind of rolls it off. Yeah, his full name is Nemesio Sanchez.
Nemesio. All right.
Yeah. But I do have a thingy for him as well.
Was it the university or was it the Department of Archaeology and Anthropology?
It it is a museum, but based within the university.
Gotcha.
The actual university name is the Universidad Nacional Mayor de San Marcos, which is the National University of San Marcos.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you quite well, Jason. Your volume
Okay.
is too low. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Is that any better?
Yeah, way much. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So the actual university name,
Could we go in between those two settings?
in between. Yep. How's that?
Yeah, that's good for me.
Okay. It's probably because I turned my head a bit as well. So the actual university is called the National University of San Marcos, and this museum is within the university.
Would you mind if I took a brief break? The kitty has been busy and I need to clear
Yes.
something up.
Yes, of course. I was about to roll a break anyway as we kind of close that scene. But yeah, unless there's anything else you want to ask, let's take a break.
Nope.
Okay, BRB.
Alright. How much?
3 in a bit.
5-10 minutes.
5
Okay.
10 minutes. Okay, I'll go for a smoke then.
Okay. Can you hear my fan?
Yes. Only just.
Only just, okay.
All right.
Thunder still raging in Italy, I see.
Yeah, they're pretty loud too.
Yeah, you've definitely got the coolest background tonight.
Oh,
Yeah, very Cthulhu. Ah, ah, ah.
all right. Can you repeat to me your names, though? This way I can
Oh.
write them down close to your character names.
I'm Becky.
Becky. All right. Jonah, you are Phil, right?
Phil, yeah.
All right. And Winston is Stephen.
Ronnie.
Ronnie, yeah.
Stephen
of course.
is the regular who joins in our streams in the chat.
All right.
And you know who I am.
Yeah. Also, you've got your names written under there, so
Yes, I
I
do.
couldn't possibly go wrong with that.
My name is Keeper.
Absolutely.
Last name.
I've
please?
always thought so.
Oh,
Badum. Yes, I love you too. It's funny though, because sometimes people call me Mr. Jason. Like, my GP calls me Mr. Jason in the texts I get. Like, dear Mr. Jason, blah blah blah. It's like, okay. Right, so just to double check, anything else that you want to do before the night falls, or, you know, it's time for bed sort of thing?
No, I'll just get a taxi home and then be at the university at 9 in the morning.
Okay.
I will
I'm good.
go to my room. I will pray, and then I will sleep.
Johan? Yep. Okay, lovely. Right, so, next morning, the 19th of March, a Saturday. Okay, so, you arrive at the Museo de Arqueologia y Antropologia, 9 in the morning with Jackson. I almost called him Jesse, but obviously now it is Jackson. Yeah, you realise it's actually quite a big campus, this place. Quite an old university. You see a plaque that says it was founded in 1551. However, the museum only opened in 1919. It's very recent. It's a two-storey stone building. It's painted dark yellow. University Park is out the front, so it's all very sort of pretty and prim and proper. And Professor Sanchez, as you come to realise, the professor, he has an office on the ground floor. Obviously, Jackson seems to know the way, almost like he's been here before. So he kind of takes you in. It's a very sort of tall ceilinged room, very airy. White walls, so almost a bit clinical, but there are shelves and shelves full of books and artifacts on this floor, which, for those of you more academically inclined, really do light up. There's journals, papers, things like that. There's even a sort of big hardwood desk that's also piled up with similar things. Windows are open as well, just to air out the room a little bit. When you arrive, you get the impression that Sanchez wasn't really expecting any visitors, but he's still happy to kind of, you know, see you, and obviously recognises Jackson. Let me just get him up quickly. So this is him. So he speaks fairly good English. Yeah, sorry, extra clicking. Yeah, there we go. He speaks fairly good English, but his native language is definitely Spanish. He's got this very sort of smart, sleeked back hair, glasses, beard, etc. Well-mannered, obviously intelligent in his area of study. Yeah, so is there anything specific that you ask him? Because obviously he kind of invites you in, he gets like tea, coffee if you want it.
Well, I'd rather let Mr. Elias to do the talking, since we are just going along with him.
I do compliment the professor on his lovely museum, and after this meeting, I would very much like benefit of being able to walk around.
Oh, that is wonderful. Are you a doctor yourself, or?
I am a student of history and archaeology.
Ah, then this would be perfect for you. Yes.
Oh yes,
There
yes,
is
very. I'm
much
very
to
much
learn.
in my element here.
Absolutely, yes, and absolutely feel free to look around. Obviously, be careful with touching certain things. They are
Oh
quite
no,
old.
yes,
But,
no, no,
so,
you are most gracious. Thank you. I'm most grateful.
so you go into like a little office area where it's a bit more comfortable. There's like a little couch and things where he gets tea and coffee all set. And yeah, Jackson sort of asks him, yes, so you, I know you've been researching about the pyramids that we're going to be heading up to, so did you get anywhere on that? And you see Sanchez kind of sigh a little bit and says, yes, it is interesting that I was turned down, but anyway, yes, we have. We've managed to find some research dating back to the mid-16th century, in fact. This rather wonderful document. It was written by a conquistador by the name of Gaspar Figueroa. If you want to spell that, I will.
Was it 1860s or 1660s?
16th century.
16th century. All right.
Yes.
Well, that sounds extreme.
Mid sort of 1600s, so say 1650s, yeah, or 1660s.
You mean 1560s?
Sorry, yeah. 1550s, 1560s.
That sounds extremely interesting. Could we possibly have a look at that?
Oh, well, yes, you can, although you probably won't be able to read very much of it. It is... how should I say it? It is not just in kind of old Spanish, you know, very archaic, but also it has blood and things all streaming down it. Very difficult to prise the pages apart without potentially breaking it. But my assistant, Trinidad, she's actually been working hard to read as much as possible of it, but also try and summarize it so we can get a general gist of what the book's about. But interestingly, she said almost immediately, it is almost a book of final confessions. As if this was the final thing he wrote before he died. And it is all about this pyramid and what happened there. Having said that, she's just in the storeroom at the moment. She had been looking at it yesterday, but she said she had to deal with the storeroom this morning. I'm sure she'll be along in a few minutes. And he actually pours her a coffee as well.
I would still be interested if I could take a look at the original. It's something might jump out.
Sure. Yes. Okay. Feel free to do that while you wait, and he directs you to where it is kept. Let me just get out this second book. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Was I breaking up, or was it the platform?
You did a tad there.
You were fine.
Oh, all right, because I went dark for a couple of seconds there.
Oh, okay. No,
All
you're
right.
fine. Okay, so you notice that it's kind of been left open on this sort of stand, presumably for her to read and dissect. It's handwritten. It's a very rambling-looking manuscript. It's on vellum pages, very faded ink, lots of crossings out, corrections, marginal notes, things like that. And for those of you who do speak Spanish, again, it's difficult to read this. It is archaic, lots of flowery language, but also it's almost like some of it doesn't entirely make sense. Like, the way things are phrased is a bit weird. You're not sure if it's just because it's archaic or if it's something else, but if you want, you can make me a Spanish roll.
Ooh!
Well,
Extreme.
I'll try knowing that I'll suck. 80 on 20, so...
Okay.
I just got a pass.
Okay. Yeah, so Johan, you get a couple of little bits in there. So yeah, it's a final confession. It definitely seems to account what happens in the pyramid. And it talks about how he seemed to be a survivor, like the last survivor of a group of them. And that kind of sticks out to you. But with the extreme, Francoise, you definitely can see from, again, the way it's written and the sentence structure, it's almost as if the person writing it at the time, this Gaspar Figueroa, was half driven crazy when he did. Some of the stuff there is just delirious in the way it's written. And indeed, it does have kind of blotches of ink and maybe blood, you're not sure, that kind of dripping down from certain pages.
You say dripping, you mean have dripped?
Sorry.
Past tense.
Have.
Okay.
Have dripped.
If the manuscript's still bleeding, I think that,
It's worth noting.
Are you all kind of looking intently at this book?
Yeah, not I can't understand a word of it because I don't speak Spanish, but I am
Try
looking.
to.
Yep. Arthur, I know obviously you were trying to work it out. Francoise, you were. Johan, were you looking at it, or were you kind of more just like glancing over their shoulders?
No, I'm extremely interested in it.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I know I said have or has kind of dripped down, but you get a little sense of, hold on, is it still dripping? Can you give me a sanity roll, please?
Oh, bugger.
All of it?
Yeah, all of you. That's why I said you were looking at it.
Oh,
I exactly rolled my sanity.
Okay.
Hard pass.
58 out of 60.
Okay.
I made it.
Failed.
Go for that.
You all made it. Okay, so you just lose one.
Oh.
You're not quite sure. You can't put your finger on it, but you know, even if you couldn't understand it, that there's definitely kind of madness that has been, poured into these pages, and that does make you a little bit concerned.
Are the pages sort of like you're not entirely sure if that is actually dry yet or not, sort of thing?
Well, if you look at it again, you realise, okay, maybe it's just your imagination, but it does look almost a little bit too,
Given
recent.
extreme past, can I make out either what any of his confessions are or what happened?
Yes, you can. Although it is a big book, so what I'll say is, yeah, you do find a little bit of what happened. So, almost kind of elaborating on what Johan found. Hold on, where's it gone? Yeah. So you find that there were several people involved in his group who wanted to seek out their own fortune following Pizarro's assassination in 1541. So Figueroa went with Hernando Ruiz, Diego Garrido, Luis de Mendoza, and Pedro de Velasco.
Luis de Mendoza,
sorry,
you
that
said.
was too quick for me. Hernando de
I'll read it again.
Rees.
I'll read it again. So Hernando Ruiz.
Oh, Ruiz.
Ruiz.
Okay.
Ruiz. Diego Garrido.
Mm-hmm.
Luis de Mendoza.
Same surname.
Pedro de Velasco. So that was their group. And in terms of what else you find on that page, basically they travelled into the southern highlands of the Andes. They were hoping to find fortune, looking for treasure, before heading back to Spain and essentially being able to be so luxurious they can just retire and be filthy rich and things like that. But yeah, it's a thick book. That I'll say for that. That's what you find. But you think with this summary, if Trinidad has done it quite well, then you should be able to find more from her.
Okay. Can I just, while I'm looking at it, can I just have a look at the cover? Just a quick glance at it.
Yeah, sure.
Is it obviously just like it was just a notebook of his, was it? It's
Basically, yeah, it's a journal of sorts. It's leather. Again, very old, so you kind of feel the fragility of it when you do so. But yeah, when you think about it, you realise it's been about 15 minutes and Trinidad still hasn't made an appearance.
The tea's cold then.
But yeah, is she coming soon? Because we'd like to hear what her discoveries are.
Well, yeah, she said she'd only be a few minutes, and that was half an hour ago when I saw her. All right, that's a bit odd. Maybe she's just found something and lost track of the time. I don't know.
She's maybe had an accident in the storeroom, moving something.
Which section of the museum was she heading to?
It's a storeroom. So he kind of points out where it is. It's basically underneath his office. So you have to go down some stairs into, dare I say, a basement. But yeah, it's. But he says, well, she goes down there quite a lot. She's never had an accident. But I suppose we could check.
I think we should. She could have slipped and
Yeah, certainly.
hurt herself.
All right. So are you all heading down, or just a few of you?
I'm going.
Yeah, I'll go.
I kind of want to read the next page.
Hey, you can if you want, especially with your extreme. Maybe feel more drawn to the book. Okay, that's fine. What about you, Winston?
Yeah,
No, I'm heading down to.
You're going.
Oh, I can't read Spanish, so me reading that book is irrelevant. So I'm gonna.
Okay, not a problem. In that case, Sanchez is more inclined to stay upstairs and just make sure that Francoise doesn't kind of, do anything
Unethical.
yeah, well,
Unscholarly.
yes.
Corrupt.
But he also says, well, I'm maybe she'll pop up so we could see her, if you don't, if you miss her. And you notice as well, Jackson stays as well. He actually goes and makes some more coffee. But yeah, the three of you head down. So I will deal with that first. Okay, let's see. So, yeah, so you go down this quite big sort of metal staircase, long dimly lit corridors as well in order to get to this room. Now let's see, Saturday. Yeah, it's quiet down here. You think maybe more people come here during the week, but yeah, it's definitely quiet. Interestingly, you see like the room ajar, at the end of the corridor. Those of you down there, you can give me a listen roll if you wish.
What? Ah,
No, I'd like to not make a lesson roll.
I just got the base 20. Still, 82.
Oof.
That's a big nope.
I'm deaf as well.
Okay. So yeah, eerily quiet. But as you get up to the door, you kind of hear this from behind.
Like someone is suffocating. Or
Yeah, you get that impression. Yeah.
But push the door open and then corner it in.
Okay. So. Okay. So you get in. You can't see anybody around, and it takes you a minute to realise that the sound came from near the back, and you see basically the husk of what you thought was originally Trinidad on the floor, and she is obviously dead. Can you give me sanity rolls, please?
Oh, yes, another hard success.
And I failed.
Uh-oh.
And I failed as well. And then
Okay, so you failed. Can you take 4, please?
I've now lost 5 points and well,
You
not
have,
in one go,
you have, but not all at once, so
Not
you're
all at
fine.
Yeah, that's in one go.
Yeah.
That
4 points in
things
one
get
go, yeah.
frisky.
Yeah. So that was Winston, and who else failed? Was it Arthur?
Yeah, failed too.
You failed, yeah. Okay. No. Yeah, so you're still not quite down to your 5th. You're about
Oh my
halfway.
word.
Halfway.
Yes.
But yeah, so you basically, like I said, she's kind of a husk, and for some of you, it really kind of shakes you. Let's see. I've lost the
Poor lady.
bit where she
One of you gentlemen should go and get help. I will remain with her.
May I try a roll for medicine in order to try to determine the cause of death? Or I got too little of information?
I would say no, but only because it's fairly obvious. So she is almost mummified in the way she looks. She is completely emaciated. There's a large disc in the middle of her chest where it's been sort of torn, and it's all sort of bloody flesh. Her face is also very shriveled, as you can imagine. Her eyes are still sort of wide in terror of whatever happened to her. What you do see, though, if you're sort of looking at her body, her notebook is kind of poking out from one of her jacket pockets.
My God,
Yeah, I'll take it.
This cannot be the young lady Sanchez talked of, surely.
I do hope not. This is most shocking. I will go and alert Professor Sanchez. You stay here with the.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. As you're about to get up and start heading back out, you suddenly hear a fire alarm go off.
All right, then I take the notebook and I say to John and Winston that we better get out.
Yes, quickly as possible.
Okay. Do you head straight out of the building, or do you intend to get the others first?
I'm going to the others first,
Go to the others first.
obviously.
Okay, right. Speaking of which,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's raining here now, actually, as well. Okay, speaking of which, so Francoise, obviously you don't know any of this is going on.
Nope.
Although, you do hear the sound of the fire alarm go off. Jackson hears it too, as does Sanchez. The two of them are kind of inclined to leave for obvious reasons. So do you do the same?
Yes, but hopefully I get the chance to at least read the second page before
Hopefully,
that happens.
yes. Can you give me another Spanish roll? Because this time it takes it's quicker.
Oh, blast! No, I'm struggling on a few words.
Yeah, as it gets more into what happened, it's almost like the language gets more and more delirious, so it's harder for you to work out kind of what he's actually talking about, really, to a degree. But you know that something bad happened to him and to his say accomplices or companions, whatever you want to call them. You know something bad happened.
Well, character's frustrated. Real me is grateful that I'm not going to be turned into a husk with some kind of disc hole in my chest.
Yeah, but you don't know that. Oh. Okay, so you head on out with Jackson and Sanchez is kind of putting his stuff down and following on. So say the two of you bump into Arthur, Winston, and Johan, presumably to then head out of the building, which you do. As you do, and you've kind of headed out either into the street or across the street, a couple of people are actually kind of looking up thinking, we know what's going on. You notice that Sanchez isn't following.
Oh, where's Professor Sanchez? Was he with you, Francois?
I'm sorry?
Was he with you?
Yes, he was. All right. So, where are you going, Professor?
Well, it's not where is he going, it's more he was kind of coming, but then when you got out, he wasn't following any further. Like, you don't know what happened.
Yeah, he was with me, but
Perhaps he went downstairs for the young lady.
Oh, I hope not.
We should tell them at least.
I'm afraid she was dead when we found her.
Yes.
Yeah,
Just,
I'll go
just
and
by
take,
the way.
I'll go and take the professor before it starts maybe doing something stupid, like going back in.
Okay.
dead by what means?
Interestingly, as you go back in, suddenly your instinct kicks in and think, hold on a minute, I'm about to enter a burning building, although you do. But then you realise, hold on a minute, where's the fire? I can't see any fire, there's no smoke.
Yeah, someone was triggering the alarm in order to maybe get rid of the body or pick up something.
Yes. All of a sudden, that sounds very possible.
Since I'm malicious enough.
But it is a large building. The fire could be anywhere.
It seems all too convenient that the fire alarm was triggered when we went down to the storeroom.
The journal.
What was
The journal.
the journal is still in the professor's office.
I'm
I'm going straight back there.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and look for it.
You're going back as well? Okay. Anybody else tagging along?
Yeah, I'm running.
That's was?
This is crazy, I say, tagging along.
Okay, so you'll go back. Okay, it doesn't take long to find him. Essentially, he is sprawled on the floor in the corridor just above the stairs where the storeroom is, so you think, yeah, maybe he was going to go and try and recover Trinidad. But he also looks like he's been attacked in some way. He doesn't look quite the same. He certainly doesn't have a hole in his chest or anything like that, but he looks almost completely incapacitated, and he can barely speak, and he looks pale. Whoever comes up to him first, he almost kind of reaches his hand out to grab you and goes, "He kissed me."
What, like a homosexual?
who? Who was the professor?
I don't know. And he's kind of like you can see these sort of white waxy secretions coming out of his mouth as he talks, and he's finding it very difficult to talk.
I'll try and find a water fountain or something and a cup or coffee cup or something in a room and
Arthur, that's your name, Arthur. You seem to have some medical knowledge.
Yeah, if I'm able to, I may try to understand if there's something I can do in order to or neutralize the effects, or at least make him a little more peaceful when he goes.
You seem to have the situation here well in hand. I'll just look back to his office quickly.
once add larceny to murder.
We've already started.
Well,
Okay.
you know, I figure at this point, I've got a feeling we're going to get framed for Trinidad's murder at the very least. So we may as well go all in now with getting stuff.
Okay. Yeah, so Arthur, you examine him. He's obviously still conscious, but he can't really talk much at all. There's too much of this white stuff like coming out of him. But you have a good look. Do you kind of look at the whole of his body, or is there somewhere in particular that you look for?
Well, if he said that he was kissed, I'd rather see his lips, maybe the inside of his mouth, his throat, as far as I can see. Since I don't have tools to help me any further.
Okay.
I mean, I'll try to open his mouth with a pen or a pencil in order not to touch things with my bare hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you definitely get this burst of rancid aroma coming off, which kind of makes you cough and splutter a little bit. But apart from, like, if you clear out the sort of the white stuff, you don't really see anything else there.
So I don't
like
see that maybe his throat is closing in.
You don't think so, no. Maybe it was... what's the word? Maybe it was irritated in some way, but it's not blocked, or he's not, like, choking, you know, in anything, anyway like that.
What if I look at, let's say, other parts of his body, like his torso or his hands?
Sure. Do you remove any clothing when you do this?
Well, I suppose he has a shirt, so I try to open it in order to see the breathing areas if they're still
Fantastic.
working properly.
Give me a spot hidden roll, but you can have a bonus die.
All right. Where are my dice, though? I just have 2 of them. All right. Here it is. I got... I don't remember my values, though. Spot hidden, I got... Well, 93 or 13. I'll say
Well,
I just
obviously
settled for the
13.
13, which is an hard success.
13 sounds good.
Okay, yeah. So you don't find anything on the hands, but on the torso you don't find anything either. But you notice in the abdomen, because you're kind of in that peripheral vision, you definitely see that there is something moving round inside the abdomen, like under the skin.
Now comes the part where I don't get words in English. So just give me a second, please.
Don't forget to tick your spot hidden as well if you haven't done so already.
Is the circumference almost the same as the one on Trinidad's chest?
Oh, no, not at all. It's something small.
Something smaller?
Yeah, sort of almost like this big.
Well, I notify my colleagues about this, but since I don't have any kind of tools, I don't feel confident trying to operate him here. So we'd rather call for help, wait for it, since the alarm was triggered, and
Yeah.
maybe professional can take care of this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just hoping.
Yeah, it's fine. So you do get some sort of response who quite quickly realizes that obviously there is no fire. I mean, do you explain anything to them, or do you just sort of hope that they work it out, almost?
To the paramedics, you say?
Well, so far it's the fire department, because obviously it's a fire alarm that's gone off.
Well, they'll have a first aid kit at least, and scissors and knives and stuff.
Well,
Potentially, yeah.
since I speak a little bit of Spanish, I just tell them that we found him laying around, and that I believe there's something wrong around his abdomen,
Okay.
around his belly area, and he needs attendance.
Okay, so yeah, you don't need to roll for that, but I'll say you kind of convey that quite simply, but they do understand what you mean. So yeah, they get him off to the hospital nearby, just outside the town. Excuse me. Do you tell them about Trinidad down below?
Are you asking me, or are you asking us all?
All of you, yeah, because you're all kind of
alright.
on that landing.
Well, I've went back to the office while they're doing this bit. So.
Yeah, I'm sort of looking around, saying,
I went to get the professor water.
So I guess it's up to you then, Arthur. Do you tell them?
Since I'm not good in dealing with people, or at least bullshitting them, I'll just tell them that we were looking for a colleague of the said professor, and that we find her laying that face down in the storeroom in the basement.
Okay. Okay, so one of them goes down to check quite briefly, comes back up, and you assume that they're going to kind of call for backup, because obviously this is a homicide potential situation. So they do that. Sanchez goes out to hospital. You do have a small window of time if you want to check anywhere else before you're kind of ushered out of the building, because this is potentially now a crime scene.
I want to check to see if the journal was still in Sanchez's office.
Okay.
Of course it's not.
What about the rest of you?
Well, I'll just try to hide the Trinidad's notebook under my clothes,
Yeah?
in order to conceal it, to take it out,
Yep.
since I hope it cherishes the translation of sad diary, or journal, way better.
What about the rest of you?
At this point, I'm so out of my depth. I'm just kind of bewildered and in the way.
Okay.
"Yes, I'm kind of feeling the same."
You can both play the game of Bibble. Okay, so in terms of seeing if the original tome is there. Interestingly, it is.
It is.
It is still there, yes.
Sure.
Is it?
I am quite shocked by that, actually, but
Do I
It
know
is.
that the journal is still there? Does someone tell me?
Well, I've gone back to look, so I will pick it up and conceal it beneath my jacket, and I might write the doctor a quick note and pop it into an envelope. Just say we will return it.
I'd rather also ask maybe Winston, since he was the most concerned one about this, if something else is missing from Sanchez's office, because you told us there were books and artifacts, pretty valuable or at least delicate,
I
if he's able to recall.
that's actually very, very good thought. Actually, I will actually head back to the professor's room to actually look at that very thing.
Just sort of general artifacts that could be missing, do you mean, or anything else?
I mean, basically to see if there's books missing from the shelves. At this, I mean, at this point, I'm looking for gaps in the bookshelf, or the famous dust hole. You know, where there's a nice clean bit on a shelf where there was something because the dust hasn't gotten underneath it.
Okay. Okay, so you have a look. Nothing appears to be disturbed apart from the fact you can smell a little bit of smoke, which you think presumably started the fire alarm off.
In the office?
Yeah, you have a little look further in. You can see that some loose papers have just been kind of scrooched up and set alight.
But I was in there.
I thought you were in the main room with the books.
Oh,
Not-
well, I was.
not like the small office.
Sorry, I thought that's what the meeting was. Like, I thought it's where we met him, in his office.
Yes, absolutely. And when you were sitting there with coffee, that obviously wasn't there.
Right. And then where did we read the book? Because I thought that
You
was
went
in the
into-
office.
You went no. So there's like a little office for his like admin stuff. Say there's a bigger room
he's got
where
a
all the
copy.
books are. Yeah, so it would be,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, adjacent to that.
Right.
Well, he's got a
And
cubby.
was he with me at the time, or was he in his office?
He was mostly hovering around with you or in the same room, so he wasn't in the office when the fire alarm went off.
Mm.
Okay, I'm going to make a quick note of that.
I'm impressed by 1920s smoke detectors, to be honest.
I am. I'm very impressed.
I did wonder
I
if
thought
it
they were all
was
manual.
too futuristic, frankly, but eh.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere else you want to look?
What about the desk? Was it forced open? Maybe some drawers.
Well, it certainly hasn't been opened. You're not sure if somebody tried it or anything. Francoise, you certainly didn't hear anything like that going on. But then you were very engrossed in your book.
All right.
Where's Jackson?
Jackson's with you. So he kind of came outside with you. He did sort of reluctantly come back in with you when you said, "Right, I'm going back in." And obviously he is very upset by Sanchez's state as well. But you can see that he's actually looking back down to the storeroom and says, "Well, we can't just leave her there. Surely, maybe even just put a sheet over her, for dignity."
Are the fire departments still here?
Not in immediate vicinity, so they're either waiting outside or they're waiting for like police to show up. So you maybe got a few more minutes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say to Jackson that, contaminating a crime scene wouldn't be too good on us. So I'd rather leave things as they are.
Well,
Or-
I wasn't suggesting that.
Oh,
As
the
much
irony.
as I can.
I was just suggesting we get a sheet if we can find one and just cover her. That won't touch her or anything else.
I think we should inform the authorities of.
That's been done.
They've done, yeah, they found her.
Yes, yeah.
The fire brigade's found her.
I just can't think of her in that state, just staring up there like that. Oh.
Well, it would take 5 seconds to throw a sheet over her.
Well, exactly. That's
This is a museum. They must have dust sheets. They must have thousands of dust sheets.
you kind of you see, Johan, that Jackson looks quite sort of relieved that you're kind of on the same wavelength as him.
And
Yeah,
you're right,
thank you.
Jackson. This seems to be affecting you quite badly. Did you know the young lady very well, or?
Not very well, but she was a very bright young lady, and she had a bright future for herself. So that, and also poor Sanchez here, and I part of me feels like this is my fault in that what I'm getting into is possibly causing trouble.
You should not reproach yourself.
Well, I try not to, but like you were saying last night, Winston, I'm obviously getting myself into a risky business.
It would appear that we have all joined you in that endeavor. I'm sure Johan is going to go with you. I'm going to remain here.
I'll certainly go with you, and we'll find a dust sheet on the way.
All right. Okay. So you head down. Anybody else want to go with Johan and Jackson, or are you all staying up?
I
I know you are.
I'm staying up.
I'm staying up.
Yep. Okay. Francoise,
I don't
you going
particularly want to see a dead body,
No.
but I don't
Okay.
trust Jackson at all. But the fact that Johan's going does make it a bit more acceptable, I guess.
I'm basically my character is staying up because he wishes to ask the fire department or the police about the professor and how he is and so on. The player in me wants to stay up here for no reason, and he wants to make sure that at least one character is still here for the next session.
Like I said, I didn't want to go out of my way in the prologue to kill you all.
Well, if this campaign's about a year long, at our current sanity rate, I believe we'll need 3.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, 3 per session. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Starling's a good improve.
Okay. So Johan, you go back down with Jackson.
We'll keep an eye out for a sheet, dust sheet or something.
Yeah. So I'll say that you find one. Interestingly, in the storeroom, there's a couple actually as well, although they're a little bit dusty. So he kind of carefully shakes it off and puts it over her. But as he's kind of leaning over her and putting it over, he spots something in a crate just behind her that appears to have been partially opened.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at you almost with a sort of innocent curiosity. And he kind of puts his head in. And he says, "Oh, there's it's like a rod, a golden rod. It's just sticking out." And
It's
a rod, and he kind of gets it out. It's this length of gold, like a golden rod, about 2 feet long. Actually, he kind of has to pull it out a bit, almost like a sword drawing out of a scabbard. But it was just sticking out of this sort of straw. And yeah, the top of the crate was definitely ajar. And interestingly, there's a couple of like curly protrusions coming out of it, although you're not sure what they are. They don't appear to be in a specific shape or anything. And the whole rod is covered in really odd runes is probably the closest thing, but you have no idea, even as a linguist professor, you have no idea what that is. The closest you can probably say is cuneiform, but it's also not cuneiform.
Okay.
It's too crude, I suppose, is the best thing.
Too crude.
Yeah, or it might even be something completely different, but like I said, the closest it looks like is cuneiform.
But I will take a close look at the rod just to make that assessment.
Sure.
Is it completely covered, or is it lengthwise or spiral, or
What do you mean? Because it's just...
is it that way around or lengthways?
What, the writing?
Yeah.
Oh, the writing's, yeah, along the sides of the rod. So, yeah, if you knew the language, obviously, yes, you could read it. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, so essentially it's like I said, 2 feet long. It's about 3 inches wide. It's about a third of an inch deep as well. And if you actually hold it, if you take it from Jackson, which he's more than happy to kind of offer it to you, it's about 25 pounds, 11 kilograms, so actually quite hefty. So you think, yeah, it must be gold. But looking at it, it's definitely broken off something on both ends.
Okay, so also this isn't the entire thing. Perhaps there's a bit more of it in the crate.
So yeah, Jackson starts kind of shoving the straw out of the way. You can't see anything else in there, though.
There must be some sort of crowbars or something around. If there's crates in it, there must be some sort of unpacking material, some tools.
Yeah, maybe. You can give me a spot hidden roll if you like, Johan.
Oh, no, I missed that.
Yeah, there's nothing in there, but also you have like a look in a couple of other boxes, and you can't see anything else like it.
Right. Okay.
So you're thinking that it's something that's been recovered from somewhere. Obviously, it's broken off something, but they haven't got any other part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we should perhaps hold on to this piece as well. We might be able to come across some.
It's just a robbery at this point.
Yeah. Well, it's
There's a word for grave robbers in this country.
well, this is
Yeah, archaeologist, it's fine. But this has already been archaeologized.
well, that is true. But,
I believe the term you're looking for is looting.
there was
Not particularly. I was thinking of Akeros.
the guy on the amulet, the cup had 2 rods, didn't he?
That's true.
Yes, you did.
You said
notice
that
but-
it's 2 feet long,
Yeah.
which is
2 feet
basically half a meter, more or less, give or take.
Yeah.
You can hide it in your trousers and walk like you are.
Lopsided.
It is heavy.
Yeah.
It's 25 pounds.
Is
Yeah, you drag your leg a bit like you were injured, running away from the potential fire.
Is that a golden rod in your trousers, or are you just pleased to see me?
I'm just concerned.
I was waiting for you around the corner.
I'm concerned this rod has writing on it that might be vital to the.
You're in a museum.
Yeah, I know, but you don't put everything next to a dead body that's been mummified instantaneously.
It's
I'd at least like to get the archaeologist's view on it.
Well, okay, so there's not really anything else in here that you notice, but you start hearing sounds upstairs, and the rest of you hear the sound of police coming in. So Jackson feels like, right, we should go. We should definitely go.
Okay, yes. We'll go back up to the others.
Yeah, maybe once we've given statements, if they want, then we should get back to the hotel. But obviously, up to you. We've got a little bit of time.
I will say to show Winston the rod, and say, "Have you ever seen anything markings like this?"
Just to ask, are you doing this in the view of the police, etc.?
Not in view of the police. We'll do it covertly, at least, if not as
Okay.
if it's in the professor's office, even better.
Well, they're kind of combing the rooms at this point, so probably best bet is to head further afield and go somewhere else.
So you were going to pull down your trousers and show me your rod in an intimate and quiet part of the museum.
You should see a medic for that, rather than an archaeologist.
I've never seen ridges like that before.
I said we found this in a crate downstairs. It was really close to the body. I've never seen markings like this. Is it anything you can date or even place?
I will have a look at it. First of all, do I recognize the language? In other words, is it English or Latin?
Neither.
No, absolutely
Right,
not.
I don't recognize the language. Then.
It's basically geometric gobbledygook.
Gobble do what?
Gobbledygook, like rubbish.
Nonsense.
You have no idea what
All
it
right.
is. Just geometric shapes. Like I said, it looks a bit like cuneiform, which Johan understands, but, well, a little bit.
I'm
But that's it.
I'm going to attempt to try and date it though.
Okay, make me an archaeology roll.
And that is another hard success.
Okay.
You are killing
it's
it, man.
old. It's really old. You definitely think it's at least the 5th century, pendant, possibly even older than that. But given how strange this is, how archaic the language is, also the fact that it's, broken off at the two edges and it's a bit frayed as well when you look at the sort of curls that protrude off, it's very difficult to date how old it really is.
Given that it's not complete and the strange markings, it is extremely difficult to date. My best approximation would be something in the region of 5th century. However, I would need more information before I could be certain.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 3 artifacts on you, potentially, if you want to call them artifacts. You've got the rod, the tome, and the notebook.
I don't know if we can actually leave the building with the gold rod, seeing the size and weight of it.
Told you, down the trousers. No one's going to frisk you.
It'll go through the pocket, though. I would like to ask the police if we could complete our business here. And I'll say we have an object that the professor gave us that we obviously, what we want to do is I want to ink it and roll it across some paper, and then we'll leave the gold rod and just take the paper.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming you can speak Spanish, can you, Johan?
I can speak Spanish.
Yeah. How good is your Spanish?
30.
Ooh, okay. Maybe give me a roll for that, actually.
I can help out with translation.
All right.
Oh,
You can have a bonus then.
Extreme.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they you think maybe it wasn't perfect, but they do get what you mean, and they say yes, okay. And they
I mean,
just
they
say
can
to you,
just do it, so just
do
get
what,
lost.
sorry?
So they
Yeah,
can watch
yeah,
us do it. So you just roll it and
yeah. So they just say, okay, make sure you leave the the rod behind as potential evidence.
Of course.
Yeah, okay. So they allow you to kind of do a rollout and block. Presumably you want the geometric shapes, right?
yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I will just make a quick note. Okay. Yeah, so they're becoming a bit more of a presence here. You can tell they've now found the body as well, so they ask you to sort of give a statement, just sort of what happened, so nothing too elongated, excuse me, or anything like that. And then you're kind of told in sort of a general hint, please go away, we need to sort this out, it is a crime scene.
Do you have any information on how Professor Sanchez is yet?
Are you saying that to the paramedics?
To the police or anyone who might be able to.
They say to you that he needs to be taken to the hospital. He's obviously consumed something that hasn't agreed with him.
Actually,
Okay.
Oh, he's gonna die.
You can kind of hear him breathing a bit in the background, and they're trying to sort of keep him calm and things like that. But yeah, they put him in an ambulance. Again, more people are sort of on looking to see what's going on. So, where do you go from here? Do you go back to the hotel? Do you intend to do anything specific?
I think I think we should go back to the hotel and just
Yeah. Also, we have plenty of things to read and analyze.
yeah.
So I believe an hotel room will be the charm.
Sorry.
I was going to, because I'm going to go home. So, sorry, I'm going to go home. So, would it be possible for me to borrow the book? I was reading it.
Certainly, I was going to say, would someone like to take it from me? I would like to head to the library and do a bit of research on early cuneiform and maybe some geometric patterns with reference to the sheet we have now. I don't really want the book with me when I do that.
Okay.
Would you like some assistance?
Certainly, yes.
I'm sorry, I blacked out with my connection a little bit. So who's studying what?
Sorry. I'm giving the book to Becky.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'm going to go home for a few days and read it, and then turn up for the exhibition, unless I learn something drastic in the meantime.
Well, yes.
We should also find a way to keep in touch with each other. Because you're staying home and we're staying at the hotel. If we have to tell you something, we don't know how to.
Well, I've got an idea about that. The way that we make sure that we keep in touch with Francoise is when we hear screaming of madness, we'll know where Francoise is.
It's Francoise. Francoise is the male name. It is Francoise.
Yeah, Francoise. Sorry. But we'll be able to tell Francoise has been fully immersed in the book.
Are you saying the same character?
No.
Of course not.
No.
And we're headed to the library too, so we can pick up anything on this early cuneiform or something, whatever it is.
I would suggest that we agree a meeting place and meet every day at an allotted time, perhaps for luncheon.
Yeah.
Lunch would do it.
We can do at
Yep.
12 at the bar that goes by the name of Cordano,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
we had lunch,
all means.
dinner last night.
Yes,
Everybody
place.
knows where that is. It's pretty close to every one of us.
Of course, Francoise, if you find information that you feel is pertinent, obviously you come and get it immediately.
So you want me to check in with you every day in case you've been murdered, and you want me to check in with
Jackson
you
laugh at
straight away if I read anything in the book.
Or indeed, if you get murdered.
Or indeed, if you get murdered, we need
Well,
to
Yes,
check
please.
immediately to tell us
Please
that.
notify us about time and date of your murder, please. And send a telegram to the local police.
you are very funny. You are very funny. I like your dark humor in these tasks. What I was. Oh, sorry, Johan. Go ahead.
So assuming we're going to be spending so much time together, it'd just be nice to get to know each other over lunch. And
Yes.
I think we're going to spend enough time together in the coming weeks. You know.
Oh my God, the French snobism. Snobbity snob.
What I would say, with this tome that you're going to take away, Francoise, it would be wonderful if we could compare notes on what we have. And I'm not suggesting that I come with you by any means. You know, you're a lady, you deserve your privacy. But I am also very interested in that book. So whether you finish reading and I could have a look at it or whatever you want, I'd love to have a look. Or maybe I could help you with the translation.
You may also help me with the notebook, Jackson, since I have it.
Yes, I certainly can.
Hopefully it will hold the translation of the book, or maybe something that she found interesting enough to note it down.
Well, yes, Sanchez said that she'd almost finished. So
Yeah.
hopefully we get the crux of what happened in that notebook.
I think we have a plan.
You do. So are you just intending to go away for the rest of the day and then come back the next day for lunch?
Well, my intention is if I get stuck, I'll actually turn up as asked. Otherwise, I'll carry on reading.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, I don't think I have anything else to do. Maybe go to some kind of library or whatever if something turns up interesting from the notebook. But we got no leads now, so we should find them before moving somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. With regards to book reading, because there are actual rules in this, I'm assuming that you're kind of planning to try and skim through it rather than sit down and cross-reference and blah blah.
I've got a couple of days, so until the exhibition.
A couple of days. Fine. Okay, so basically what that would be, that would technically be still skim read because it is a big tome.
Okay. It's about 20 hours of reading, I guess, in that time.
Mm-hmm. Now, you already did your sanity roll, which is fine. Let's see this thing. There's a roll that you have to do, but I can't remember what the life of it is.
Is it the Dewey Decimal skill roll?
Yes, it's one of them.
Okay.
Where the hell's the index? There we go. Right.
Emily, I believe that if it is about studying a mythos-related book, it should be an hard intelligence roll in order to retain
Yes.
information about spells, though.
Not necessarily. It's more just uncovering the information and not going mad while reading it.
I'll check on my copy too.
No, I've
So
got it here now.
whoever get it first.
Wait, no, I don't.
They're reading books on how to read books.
I know, right?
How to read
have it
books for
bookmarked.
dummies.
I did.
Is this a
I can't
rulebook
read.
thing, or is this from masks?
No, it's a rulebook thing.
Okay.
I remember there being quite specific rules of how much knowledge you can pull out of a book in a particular time period. Because it's such a mainstay of Lovecraft's novels,
Hmm.
pulling through information.
Oh, santa pazienza.
173. There we go. Haha. Okay. And yes, so it's an initial reading, right? Okay, so you need to make me a Spanish roll.
Okay. Ooh. You know what? I'm going to blow a point of luck and make that an extreme.
Fantastic.
Oh God.
Okay.
Do I have to make it 2 or what?
No, this is just for Francoise and her crazy ass tome that she's uncovered. With you, it's just a notebook, so it's a little bit different.
Alright.
Okay. Right, so you get... Oh, God, no, I keep looking this one. Like a bloody library, this. So you get 1 Cthulhu Mythos point.
Oh, bugger.
Just the one.
Don't try to eat it all in one go. Save it some for later.
Minus D100 sanity.
Okay, then the reader now automatically loses the sanity cost of the tome. Technically, you already did because you already rolled it.
Yay.
So I'll be generous this time and say that counts rather than make you roll it again. Okay. Yeah, so... yeah, you definitely find a bit more info. Again, it's really quite difficult to read. But what I'll do is I'll jump to Arthur because you essentially find the same information. It's just you read a whole book rather than a few bits of paper. So, Arthur, you and Jackson, you look over the notes that Trinidad left behind.
Please.
Again, if you want me to repeat any of this, I will, because there's quite a lot there. So what she's written, this is in English as well. Or rather, even if it isn't, then you translate it and stuff. Written by Gaspar Figueroa, 1543 on vellum. Figueroa was a Spaniard who had travelled to Peru with Francisco Pizarro. According to the text, Figueroa set out to seek his own fortune following Pizarro's assassination in 1541. He was accompanied by Hernando Ruiz, Diego Garrido, Luis de Mendoza, and Pedro de Velasco, fellow conquistadors who had served with Pizarro. They travelled into the southern highlands of the Andes looking for treasure, hoping to make their fortunes before heading back to Spain and retiring in luxury. Hearing rumours of an ancient temple filled with gold, the men set off into the mountains southwest of Lake Titicaca. There they found a pyramid surrounded by a maze-like structure of underground tunnels. The walls of the tunnels were inlaid with intricate gold carvings. The men pried out a large section of the gold, exhausting themselves in the attempt. That night, as they rested, an evil sickness befell Figueroa's companions. In the morning light they looked gaunt and death-like. Complaining of agonizing hunger, they pursued Figueroa. De Mendoza caught up with him and started to devour him like a human leech. Figueroa shot his friend in the head and fled, pausing only to snatch up as much of the gold as he could carry. Figueroa eventually arrived back in Lima, hoping to get passage home, but he was too weakened by his ordeal. Figueroa describes himself as wasted, little more than a walking corpse. I read Final Confessions as Figueroa's attempt to lift the guilt that his avarice had placed upon him. He believed that his fate and that of his companions was brought about by their desecration of a holy place, and that his most fervent wish was that he could undo the damage he had inflicted. He describes how he can still hear his friends' voices crying out with inhuman hunger, and how in the dark of the night he can hear another voice, ancient and seductive, promising him eternal life if he returns to the temple. The voice told Figueroa how to contact it, but it seems Figueroa was too afraid even to attempt this. There's also a postscript written by the priest who performed the last rites, who states that Figueroa died a day after completing his final confessions. His last words were an entreaty to whatever gods were listening to forgive him of his blasphemies.
All right.
Well, there's a blasphemy right there.
Can you answer a question for me, Keeper Jason? The Mendoza guy that accompanies our Larkin goes by the name of Louis too, right?
Yeah, he does.
Sounds odd.
And on that potential twist, I will end the session there.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Oof. Yeah, there's a lot there. Can we get a copy of that?
Oh, whoops. Let me just quickly change cameras.
Wrong button.
Can we get a copy of
Yeah. So I'll send you all the handouts that I've read out and stuff. Definitely, yes.
Because there was a lot of information in there to unpack.
Yeah. Definitely. Like I said, if you don't take notes, you'll forget. But also, if I don't send you handouts, that's just unfair because you've got them in front of you in characters. So seriously.
I'm sorry, Keeper. I'm planning on forgetting even with notes.
You may do. There are idea rolls that I can give you, but whoa.
Yeah, who deciphers my notes? That's the trouble.
I've never
just the
taken so
prologue
much
as well.
notes for just one session. All right.
I've been taking a few notes, but they've literally been notes. It's been like entire paragraphs of information shoved into like a sentence.
I got D sharp and B flat. Is that enough? Should I take more notes?
Semiquaver.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that joke, but I didn't recall how you Brits named notes, because we named that in a total different way. Do, re, mi, fa. So.
Indeed, you do. Well, Germans are weird. They have H and stuff. So, yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that.
Yes, that was a lot of fun.
Of course I did.
Intriguing.
I know it's a bit longer than we normally play, but yeah.
No, that's fine.
Really good.
It was, yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it too, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Steve, for watching.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, Steve.
Broadcast, so thank you.
Pleasure
very
to
much.
meet you.
Yeah. And you.
It's good to meet you as well, George.